it has been my experience over the years as a coach that the majority of people really don't need more than about 10 sets per muscle group per week. And I thought I would chat with you guys and gals a little bit about this today. And this comes from years of coaching, reading all the scientific literature, talking to other coaches, observing, and I'm going to be, again, quite frank. I have seen plenty of people, and I know coaches out there and even some influencers who do less than 10 sets a week, get phenomenal results. They are crazy jacked, crazy strong, all these things. Okay, this has been done over and over and over. I like a little more than that personally. I personally like about 8 to 12 sets for me personally, and then some weak links could get up to 15. Stuff like sometimes biceps or delts or things like that. Particularly complicated muscles like delts. They have a lot of different functions. But when I make this statement, again, we've seen all the data. It is not a clear-cut case of the high volume winning. There are groups of researchers who show high volume doing better in very, 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 very small margins, like literally barely enough to measure. Or you have other groups of researchers showing lower volumes, closer to 6 to 10 sets actually seems to produce maximum growth. And there was some research that even showed going beyond that caused less growth. It actually reduced your gains. So it's a mixed bag. And we can't take the science as the final word on this because there just isn't enough research. There's not enough funding. The quality of the studies is generally really low. And that's a problem. It's one thing if you've got some really, really solid research and meta-analysis and long-term studies with hundreds or thousands of people. They don't. Okay? They don't. None of these hypertrophy studies have 1,000 test subjects running for a year straight. Not one of them. None of them. So, kind of creates some conflicting data. But if you look for the trends in the data, I think we can definitely conclude that there's not really good evidence for large amounts of growth going beyond 10 sets. Okay? At best, it is very, very minor differences. So, observation. And I want people to think about this because they're only thinking in terms of maybe an isolation movement. If you think about what are the primary movers in an exercise, you'll see what I mean. This adds up. So, for example, if we actually count a bench press as at least a set for a tricep, and I think we generally should, and then your tricep extensions, hitting 10 plus sets is a fair amount. Okay, all right. Maybe some of the smaller presses, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I might not count overhead pressing towards triceps, but even if you take benching and extensions, to get to 10 plus sets is actually a fair amount of work. Same thing when we start looking at heads of muscles, and I think that's a good way to approach it. Like, say, take delts. To get 10 sets for your side delts, 10 sets for the long head of the tricep, 10 sets for your calves, your quads, your hamstrings, right? This is a lot more volume than people seem to realize. I don't think they're understanding that 10 quality hard sets is a lot of work. The only thing it might not seem like much on is shoulders, right? We seem to be able to really, really be able to do a lot of volume for shoulders because realistically all your chest work hits your front delts, all your middle and upper back work hits your rear delts, okay? So again, setting aside maybe the delts, and we could make the case for the delts maybe being a muscle if you're trying to get really aesthetic, because the delts are probably the single most important one muscle for aesthetics if you had to narrow it down, and they have 3 different heads. Okay, maybe you could take them up higher. But where does that leave you with everything else? I mean, how do you get to 10 sets for quads in a week? 3 sets of squats, 3 sets of leg press, 3 sets of extensions. You're still not there. You're still under 10. I mean, 10 sets for your chest. See where we're going? What would you need? 3 sets of bench, 3 sets of incline, 3 sets of flies. That's still only 9. You still got room for another set somewhere. Okay? And I would say when I talk about 10 sets, I do mean if it's a primary mover. I wouldn't count an overhand grip barbell row as a bicep exercise. I wouldn't necessarily count my upright rows as a bicep exercise in that case. Okay. Would I count an underhand grip one? Would I count a pull-up? Probably. Definitely a chin-up. Any type of curl. right? Presses, we could say, well, maybe just the lateral head because it doesn't grow the long head that much, and that's fair. But all your extensions are going to hit the long head. It's a lot more work than people really seem to realize of actual hard sets. If you were to come in and make sure that every muscle in your body got 10 sets, every muscle, I think it's more training time and volume than people really realize. Trying to squeeze that into 4 days, okay? Especially with things like the complexity of the shoulders. I think most people would need more than an hour to even do it. If you're actually doing sets close to failure or to failure. So again, people say, oh, that's not enough, but it's like it really is. And I'm not saying some muscles can't benefit from a little more. I mean, there's even some data I've seen over the years showing triceps can handle a little more than chest. So how much work is that really? It's a lot. Keeping in mind what I just pointed out. For chest alone, I only gave you 9 sets. I mean, that's 3 exercises for chest every week. You'd have to add a fourth set to one of them somewhere. All right? Man, how about when we start talking lower body? Like quads, hamstrings. Hey, that's a lot. So people who want to act like, it's not a fair amount of work, it only seems like a light amount of work if you're training just your upper body. All right, if you're doing only the show muscles and you're avoiding half the back, avoiding your lower body, it might not seem like a lot of volume because like, oh, pecs, delts, triceps, biceps, 10 sets. Well, yeah, that could easily be done in 2 days. But when you start talking about all the back, your lats, your traps, glutes, hamstrings, quads, calves, okay, that's a lot of work. And I don't think people who think that that's a low amount of volume, I think they don't train very hard. I would absolutely say that. They could not be training very hard and still think that's really low volume, because it's not. Because I've done periods of time on camera where I went up to 20 sets for every muscle a week. Yeah, on camera. I started cutting sets short just to get it all done. Right? Stopping 3-4 reps short of failure, 5 reps short of failure, just so I could get all the sets done. And it took me hours. I was training 2 hours a day just trying to do that. Right? 20 plus sets is a lot, guys. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. And it's questionable if it even gives you more growth. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys and gals next time.